What are the top 10 reasons people go solar? This is what I've been given. Number one is always to save money. Say whatever what you want to say. Permanently reducing or limiting your electricity bill is the number one reason people go solar. Another reason people understand that the same reason they bought a house is the same reason they don't want to rent their solar. They want to own an asset. The third reason that I hear is to increase their home's value. They understand that by having a mini power plant on their roof, they've just increased the value of their home. The next one I hear often is you want to set an example. People want to reduce the air pollution and the water pollution in our world, and I agree with that. Tax incentives is number 5. A lot of people love the fact that Uncle Sam's going to pay this year 26% of the cost of their solar and next year 22%. And it dies after that. So move within the next 2 years if you're one of those that's motivated by the tax incentives. The sixth one, and this one has become more and more pervasive, is personal energy independence. A lot of people look out at what's going on in our world today and they're like, you know what? I want to make sure that my house has power even though everybody else doesn't. Number 7, flexible financing options. Although few say that that's what it is, as I've already pointed out, that is probably the number one reason people get solar, because they don't have to put anything out of pocket and they can get a lower bill than what they're currently paying, and they fix that rate forever. So that's probably, although people don't say it, that's probably the number one reason. Well, it goes back to number 1, saving money. Limited maintenance, no moving parts, right? So solar is one of those things that you put it up there and you basically can forget it. Although you do get an app and you can look at that app on your phone and know how well your solar is working. Others have said they're doing it to support the local economy. And by the way, there's more jobs now in the solar field than there is in oil in the United States. So it's a major industry now. And I made this one up, but it's my favorite. The government hasn't figured out how to tax sunshine yet. So let me walk through each of these. The first one, save money, right? Permanently reduce your electric bills. Let's face it, if you're renting electricity, just like when you're renting a home, the price is going to go up every single year. When you buy solar, you're going to fix your cost for however many years you take to pay that off. And by the way, the average American pays off their solar loan in 7 to 8 years. So you pay that off, it goes to zero, and you've got a zero electric bill moving forward. Saving money is one of those ways. So if you want to save money, just get solar. You want to fix your electric costs forever? I hear that all the time too. So at one point I was actually we went to live near my kids that live in Utah. I've got a daughter and some grandkids there. So we moved there to be closer to them. And I went to the Utah Public Service Commission. We call it the Public Utility Commission where I came from in Arizona. But the Public Service Commission, and I went to their rates board to look at how much people paid. And they showed that on that website. So in January of 2000, they said that the average home in Utah spent about $496 a year on electricity. Now, I don't believe that because they also had a little asterisk there that said they were basing this on 700 kilowatts of electricity a month. Look at your bill today, and I bet you're probably at 1,100 to 1,500 kilowatts. So why did they use 7? Because in Utah, once you get above 7, the utility can charge you even more. So these are skewed to the lower side, so it makes it look a little bit better, but even so, it's still ugly. So January 2000, the average home, according to Utah's Public Service Commission, is 496. 5 years later, 629. 5 years later, 754. 5 years later, 956. If you take that and look at it, that is a 6.2% annual increase. That is why Warren Buffett invested in Rocky Mountain Power, right? Berkshire Hathaway owns Rocky Mountain Power. And that's why he knows he's got a 6.2% increase on his return every single year. That's a 93% increase over 15 years. So here's a question I've got for you. Did you get a 93% raise over the last 15 years? Or do you think you're going to get a 93% raise? Guaranteed 6.2% every single year for the next 15 years? Again, this is a reason why. If you want to fix your electric costs forever, just get solar. You want to beat inflation? Just get solar. Here's what it looks like. Now, that was Utah. I went to the national average because not everybody lives in Utah, obviously. In 2000, the average cost of electricity for the United States was 6.8 cents, right? And by 2020, that had gone up to 10.66 cents. That is 56.53% increase. So the question again becomes, is your income guaranteed to increase by 56% over the next 20 years? Let's face it, a lot of the people that call me and say they want to put solar on their homes are older folks that are nearing retirement or in retirement on a fixed income, and their electric bill is still going up and they're freaking out because they don't have the money, right? So if you want to beat inflation, just get solar. Let me show you something else. And this is interesting to analyze. If you look at the year 2000 at 6.8, and then the year 2008, it was at 9.74. Right? That's 5.4% per year. And then after that, it flattens out. But that's a 43% increase in just those 8 years. But then you see that it flattens out up there. Right? So what happened in 2008? Think about that for a second. Well, we know that George Bush signed in 2005 the Energy Act, which said net metering would go into effect in 2007. So in 2008, all of a sudden, the electric companies that used to have still have a monopoly, but nobody could do anything about it. Now people had something you could do about it. And in 2008, all of a sudden, it looks as though they flattened that curve. Did it happen because of competition? I don't know. But let me ask you this. Do you feel in your pocketbook like your electric rates haven't gone up more than 0.8%? In the last, since 2008, so the last 14 years? Of course not. It keeps going up, doesn't it? You want to avoid the electric company's sleight of hand? Let me explain it to you. Here's how it works. Here's what they'll tell you. The electric company is going to say, and they say it all the time in public, we haven't raised your cost of electricity, pay attention, we haven't raised your cost of electricity in over a decade. In fact, inflation's been at 2%, and we've only raised it at 1%. That's what they'll tell you. And they'll say it over and over again until they turn blue in the face. Yet you and I know when we look at our bill, that just doesn't make sense, does it? Because we know our bill keeps going up. Well, it's a sleight of hand. Here's what they've done. AARP put out a report a couple years back that says increasing use of surcharges on consumer utility bills. Oh, that's what they do. They don't raise the cost of electricity because they have to go to the Public Utility Commission to get that approved, right? So they just give us an extra surcharge. And they call these surcharges all kinds of silly little things. Aging infrastructure surcharge, the energy efficiency surcharge. This is my favorite, right? Environmental compliance surcharge. AKA, we broke the law, we got fined, we got an environmental fine, and we're passing that on to you. That's exactly what happened with ARP in Arizona. They broke the law, they got a huge fine, and they just passed it on to the consumer. Obviously, the owners of the company aren't going to take less money, right? And they just passed it on to the consumers with a surcharge. We got smart meter surcharge. We've got transmission investment because the transmission lines are old and antiquated too. So that's all they do. They just plug on a surcharge. That's why your bill keeps going up, even though they'll tell you that they haven't raised the cost of your electricity. So be very careful when you listen to the propaganda spewed to you by the electric company. Don't believe their propaganda, believe your pocketbook, and your pocketbook knows what's going on with your electric bill. Why is that? The U.S. Chamber of Commerce put this report out almost 5 years ago, pointing out that clean air regulation will increase electricity costs. Let me translate that into English. Our power plants were built in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. They're 50 to 75 years old, and they need to be replaced. They're putting out too much poison and toxins into our environment, and they're being told, hey, you have to cut back. And these companies are looking at these old antiquated places and going, it's going to take us tons of money to retrofit them. And that's why it says there that between 2022, this year, and 2033, that our costs are going to go up enormously in some states where they've got old coal-burning factories. So, you want to save money? Just get solar.